Hi, Richard. I'm Richard. This is going to be a little quick video. I wanted to share something about how I make these little pieces. All these pieces that I have, I cut out of like a piece of leather like this. This is a little scrap piece that I got because I didn't cut everything out I needed, apparently. Since I've never really done a pattern before, my organizational skills are a little bit weird. I just wanted to show you how I do it. Now, this isn't the best way to do it, of course. There are specialized tools for this that I don't have. But as far as, doing it on your own, this is about the best way that I've been able to find to do it. Now let me show you. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. This is one of the pattern pieces for this bag. This is the large pocket front. It's basically this piece. And I have forgotten to cut out some of my other pieces. These pieces are for the backpack straps. And when I was cutting out all these pieces, because as you can tell, there's a lot of pieces to this. These are all individual pieces, and I sort of slipped up and forgot to cut a couple out. Since this is my first bag that I've ever made from a pattern, I'm gonna forget some things sometimes. Anyway, what I wanted to explain is these are the two knives that I use most often. I use the Exaco knife to get around curves. So when you're cutting out, I can't really see. When you're cutting it out, you can go around the curve easier with an Exaco than you can with one of these. But with one of these, you can get that nice straight cut. Now, here, let me show you what I do here. He has everything lined up perfectly on so that it fits a regular piece of paper. It sort of slipped there. I'm doing this at an odd angle. My odd angle is not helping you see it all. It's just making it so that I can't see, so no one can see. So I'm going to cut those out. Now I only need the straps. I don't really need this piece because I've already made that piece. Now, if you've never seen one of these types of knives before, I think the industry calls them snap-off utility knives, where you see all these little individual, pieces. You can take, a lot of times, you can take the cap off, and you see there's a little slit in there. You can see it. And what you do is you stick your blade in there. You don't want to put too much pressure on it or it'll slip. And then it breaks off. And there's your dull piece. I'm going to make sure to wrap this on a piece of tape. Like this right here. Take you a little piece of tape. And take your little used blade there. And I do this with more than one piece, but just as an example. You wrap that up, so now when you throw it away, it's not going to be sharp. Now, we're not going to get all the way to the edge here. We don't want to get all the way to the edge when we cut this pattern out, because we want to give ourselves enough room. But we want to get pretty close, but not all the way to the edge. All right, now I got a couple of pieces of scrap leather here. We'll see which one works best. What I like to do is I like to line up all of my pieces on my leather just to see how many I can fit, if I can fit it all on there. It looks like I'm going to be able to fit them all on there, give or take. And you want to give yourself just enough on the edge there to make sure that you can get some bite with the tape, because not all the time is this edge straight. So you don't want to assume, unless you have pre-cut the edge, make it straight. Well, you can do that, but sometimes it's worth more trouble than that. And this edge is pretty straight. I mean, the drawn edge is pretty straight, so you want to follow the pattern as closely as possible. I just tape it down with a piece of masking tape. I had to get a couple of tools that I didn't think about bringing out, because I have no foresight of the things that I need. So what I do before I start cutting anything out is, you see these little holes here? I start with a pretty small gauge. This isn't the right size for this, but it's mostly just to mark them. Make sure that I take my pattern off. I'm not going to lose the place of trying to line this thing back up with the leather that I've already made. There we go. Now, they make special tools to go around these curves. Most professional leather workers have these tools that can cut these corners really fine. Well, I don't have those tools because right now they're a bit out of my price range. So now that I have all of my little marks there, I fold my tape over. Now I'm going to use my Exacto knife and I'm going to score this. I'm not going to cut all the way through. I'm just going to score it. Now that we've got the piece traced out, when we take the tape off, we now have a nice cutout. I'm going to go ahead and cut these out now. Now, there's something else about leather that you may that I wanted to point out. Cutting through leather isn't like other materials. It's fuzzy, okay? Real fuzzy. It's not like wood or anything else. So if you don't cut all the way through, which for me, I have yet to perfect the actual cutting process, because that's why they make specialized tools for these things. I'm not going to get the perfect curve, because I'm going to slip on my line some, and it's not going to look machine perfect. I have to get those specialized tools I was talking about. Those things are expensive, and if you got the money or willing, one day I'll get them. But right now, this works for me. Best way that I find to cut these little edges here, these little rounds, is to cut all the way to the edge and just sort of, like you saw me doing. That's probably a bad angle, but what I would do is I'd cut straight, and I would cut another straight, and I'd cut another straight, and cut another straight, and cut another straight, and then kind of try to follow my curve as much as I possibly could. As I'm trying to get the curve cut out and go a little deeper, someone who's a little more confident in cutting probably zip right through this. I'm not that comfortable in cutting. He's cutting leather at least, because I don't want to cut into, which I have done before, and there's a couple of spots where I've cut like this way into the piece. If you cut this way, you can't really hide it. So I try to make all of my mistake cuts on the waste side instead of the U side. And if anyone has any tricks on how to make these cuts even cleaner by hand or some sort of jig, then by all means, let me know. All right, now we got this little piece cut out. And now we've got our little piece all cut out. And another thing that I do, and something, since I'm cutting this out by hand and the edges aren't perfectly clean, you cut anything out by hand, edges aren't going to be completely clean unless, you know, some sort of crap samurai. Sort of cover up my mistakes with a piece of sandpaper. This is one reason why I like working with Vegetan, or one of the many reasons. With Vegetan, you can almost shape it like wood. You can sand it like wood, you can cut it like wood. I've got a lot of experience with wood. I'm not by any stretch of the imagination a master, but you know, I have relatively extensive knowledge with wood. Okay, good enough. Now comes our rotary tool. We can go one size bigger, and we're going to line up our little dot there. Give it a little twist, and a little piece is cut out. And now we got our little strap. And this can go right there. Along with his brother. Okay. And apparently I marked that out without realizing that I had another one of these. So, and that's another reason why I do it like that. Now, of course, this is marked out and it's hard to cover that up, but I didn't waste it. I may have it, you know, you live and learn. So I got a little bit of waste. See, I thought I had, you see, I got this piece. And I think it's this piece. I just think I forgot to cut out the little center slot there. I think I marked it, but I never cut it out. I don't know why. Probably because I'm doofy. And I do this for fun, so, you know, it's all a learning experience. All right, with this particular style of punch, it has a pretty dramatic taper, okay? With my rotary, it's less dramatic. See the taper? This one's a little more bulbous than this one. So when I punch out my little holes here, it's going to not be as wide, because if I was to drive this all the way down, the hole that's on this side, of course, is going to be smaller with anything, but this hole is going to be much, much larger. So that's another reason why I do it like that. I'm going to try to follow our lines as closely as possible. If I got less than, you know, ½ an inch on my waist side, I go ahead and cut all the way through, because there's probably something that you can do with that little amount, but I don't know what it is. Some people, they cut sort of, they pull into themselves. They sort of pull in and come across, right? And some people, they bow out like this. So when you're cutting, you're either gonna go in or go. Some people, some people are actually able to do it straight, but a lot of times people will follow the curve of their hand. So if you try to draw a straight line, you're gonna, or if you set your wrist down and you try to draw a straight line, you're gonna end up drawing a curve. All right, so when you're cutting, if you cut, you're gonna end up trying to pull with your elbow. So when you pull with your elbow, you're gonna be curving out. And as you get really, really long in these, if you go too long, you're gonna, your line is gonna start to curve outwards. So if your use piece, if you were doing this right here and your use piece was like you're cutting this side over here, you'll end up cutting into your use instead of into your waist. So into your use and not into your waist. Now you see that little furry piece there? Happens sometimes when you don't go all the way through, and sometimes you don't know that you ain't went all the way through, when you ain't done it a lot. So you wanna get your use. Like there's the curve that I gotta cut. So the furry is on there, so I'm cutting the furry off. And of course I get impatient sometimes, or impatient, not impatient. I don't know what an impatient is. Now we're gonna go in with our little punch here. Both should be the same size. All right, we're gonna cut. And if I cut all the way through this, it doesn't look like I did. All right, we're gonna get our sandpaper. Clean up the edges here. Now this is 180 grit. I wouldn't go, I mean, you can go with 100. You're just gonna sand more. Because you gotta, if you go across your surface here, it's gonna be harder to hide a big old scratches. Now, when you're doing it by hand, you're gonna get, it's not gonna be very clean. At least mine's not. There could be some straight up Exaco wizards out there that could throw an entire hide up in the air and 4 swipes cut out 1,000 pieces. The only thing I would get out of that is dull sword and bruised leather. All right, now we have our little pieces. Hide my mistake. And now that. And I still got to cut that little piece out, but there you go. Now, just to show you real quick, the reason for this little cut right here is to accommodate your little thing there. Because this piece is going to go around, and you're going to fasten it through this hole. See? You're going to put a fastener, and I'll show you that in another video. So it's going a bit long. That's the reason why the cutout. And that's to attach it to your little bag there. Now you want these, sometimes you want these things to be able to, where's that? You want these to be able to spin out the way sometimes. This is a feature, you know, spin out the way. In the case of something like this, you want them to stay put, nowhere to spin. Now, I may have to take these off and re-put them on there because I don't have belt keepers on there. And I didn't know that I needed to have them on there. So I'm gonna have to figure out how to pull these off and put them back on without destroying everything else. So that may be in the future. Well, I hope you found that informative. Man, look over here, not over here. I hope you found that informative. I hope you're enjoying this little adventure with me. I know I didn't, there's a little something that I was thinking about earlier, was I didn't film the entire process from start to finish. I didn't film me, you know, getting the leather and then stretching it out and cutting all the pieces and this, that, and the other thing. I apologize for that. Hopefully in the future, if I'm able to make more of these videos and, you know, come up with enough materials or goods or capital or whatever to make another bag or do another project, I will show more of the whole process rather than sort of the ending steps. So if you're interested in that, let me know. If you're interested in seeing an entire project sort of come together, let me know. I'll make sure to put something together. But I still got, I don't know, maybe half dozen more pieces to put on this. And I still got to figure out, where's that thing at? I got a little nameplate for this thing. Ah, here it is. All right. This piece goes on the front. Right there. And I don't know what to put here. I don't really have a maker's mark because I'm a maker, but I've never really come up with a maker's mark. Anyway, if someone has some sort of idea, let me know. If not, then say nothing. Anyway, I hope you are all staying healthy. Wash your hands, be careful, and have a very good day.